We should get Thomas Middleditch in here for this.
Is scheduled to die tomorrow by lethal.
All right. Well,
hello.
It's commentary today with your hosts Justin Roiland,
Dan Harmon,
and writer Mike McMahan.
Now, this episode was a little different. Sorry, we're getting a little drunk.
I mean, this episode came later in the season. If you've been listening to this commentary all the way through on your DVD or more likely on YouTube, you know that you guys already mentioned that we started off with 14 episodes, but we ended up with 10, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So this episode was going to be the first episode after the mid-season break, and it ended up being closer towards the end.
Yeah.
And
we did it.
So it's one of those episodes where we had a lot of ideas, and it kind of got pared down and changed. And then, I don't know, is it cool to say that a month before airing, we were all arguing in an edit bay, trying to piece it together and figure it out and change it around?
I wouldn't say arguing. I actually to me those color edit bay sessions were easily the most fun part of season 3 across the board for me personally.
Well, arguing might have been the wrong word. We were doing we
were
late
pitching.
in the game.
We were pitching and sort of trying to figure out, okay, what can we do? It was like we were boxed in to a certain extent, but
this is probably, I would say, the episode that was most rewritten in the edit bay.
Yeah, because there were some structural things. There were relationship arc stuff that changed.
It was always a Beth episode. We always knew we wanted to have this Beth and Rick relationship thing where she finds out that he used to dump her in Fruppyland, and then they have to go in because there is that Tommy is in there and he's either alive or dead.
And Rick had no idea up until the beginning of this episode that missing kid has actually been stuck in this place.
And a big question is, why would he give a shit? Why is he going in here?
Mm-hmm. That was a toughie. Do we ever really answer that for the audience?
Yes, because I think Rick. I think Rick answers it in the end, in that he doesn't answer it. He answers it the way any man answers to his feelings, which is to say to his daughter, he goes, maybe this, maybe that. I don't know. He likes her. He's a fan.
Yeah.
It's interesting though that it's this isn't. By Rick's definition, that's not his daughter. It's not Rick lives in a multiverse where it's nobody's the real them.
Yeah.
But there's this version of Beth, or rather infinite versions of this Beth, that he sees this streak in her, and I think it raises his pride and his affection. But whatever.
Yeah, part of our Rick that we tell stories about, sometimes it feels like that the way that what separates him from a lot of Ricks is that he has accidentally kind of fallen in love with a version of his family, and he's become a fammy Rick.
Well, there is a potential.
Listen, he has the ability to scan the multiverse, and obviously he picked this reality and realities very similar to this one for some reason, I think that also explains some of the talk that we were having with the logic of, this isn't his original Beth, yet he digs through the box and pulls out the crayon, and it's sort of like
he knows about
it. But we all agreed that was the reality they left in season 1, and then this reality that we're currently in, were so fucking similar. Everything happened pretty much the same way. At least I'm assuming that's what he sort of came to the conclusion of.
Well, I will only add to that it still is up to the audience, because we haven't made it canon yet, whether or not when Rick is so familiar as a timeline hopper with that version of Beth,
You can't do it.
or whether Rick himself raised a Beth like that. We don't know whether the version that Rick conjures for his insectoid captors in 301, he has this Marvel-esque origin story where he's an innocent who just loves his family, and because he's willing to turn his back on science and love his family gets destroyed, and he's the one Rick in an infinite version of Rick's that will never, and who has been, but we don't know how much of that Rick made up, and we don't know if that version were true, if that Rick were bleeding heart Rick, and that he had been reality hopping and getting to know these other versions of Beth, who were the daughters of versions of him who he hates. Then that's what you're seeing here is Rick going, I know who you are. You fucking Jeffrey Dahmer version of Beth, sired by Jeffrey Dahmer versions of me.
Soul bonded.
I kind of love you.
Yeah.
So that moment we just saw was the first big kind of change we made a month before it aired. The Tommy and Fruppyland story used to be much longer, and we realized the stories between Beth and Rick, not Beth, Rick, and Tommy, to as much of an extent as we had it. And so when Beth and Rick, because they are somewhat alike, start getting ahead of the sci-fi narrative and being like, just take us to King Tommy, that brought us a lot more joy.
Right. And we did that in the edit bay. It was like, we just got to get out in front of this.
Do you remember
that
way
story
back,
was really hard.
When they encountered Tommy, Tommy had decided he was Beth, because in Beth's world, if he took on the Beth persona, he could control that world like Rick had created, and he had lived in it for so long, he really thought he was Beth. So then when Beth shows up, he competes with Beth. Anyway, that was a really complicated story.
There were a lot. Every episode of the show goes through, a lot of permutations, and
this side of it,
that's normal. That's how you get to.
This Jerry side has always been this awkward dad dating divorce story, based in like real kind of like awkward dad stories.
Yeah,
it's great. I always felt really good about this story. I mean, even in like thumbnails, I was like, okay, this is. It needs a little here, a little there, but it's structurally it's firing.
The part where he's in the car and they won't let him off the hook is my favorite. It's such a great part.
This is Thomas Middleditch, y'all.
Oh, yeah.
We know.
Got it.
He did great. He was super funny. He improv'd a bunch. You liked working with him.
Yeah, I loved it. He came in twice. Like the first batch was all the improv stuff. That might be worth putting on the DVD, actually. Just all of that Middleditch stuff.
Oh, and recording with these kids was funny, and this was so good it used to be the tag, and we ended up pulling it into the middle of the episode.
Yeah, it needed it.
Well, it was normally in the narrative, and then it became the tag briefly, and then it got pulled back into the narrative.
Yeah.
I don't know. People listening are like, why do I listen to this?
What am I doing? They're probably...
I don't know what they want to hear.
They're probably at work drawing, or if that's their job, or doing a puzzle, or...
That's interesting.
Or... I don't know.
I want to tell them things that they came to find out, but I don't know what those things are. Yeah. All I can tell you is the things from my perspective, which I don't think is... interesting.
Life is too short.
Is it? Yeah, it just takes that tone. It's like, oh God, when I watch this, I just remember I should avoid the feeling of clawing my eyeballs out.
I think this entire episode in general might have come from the second season episode with
why wouldn't they let us fucking...
What was the end of Mike's sentence?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
It was Summer and Tinkles. Remember, we liked that kind of gooey land, the pillowy land.
Yeah,
we wanted to go to a pillowy land forever.
Oh, man. I mean, that was me. I wanted to... I was excited about the idea. This was me thinking about that Hug-a-Bunch movie, It was like, oh, man, the Hug-a-Bunch movie, and like, how weird would it be if like you went into that Hug-a-Bunch mirror and you trapped a friend got trapped in there, and then and then you got out and couldn't get back in.
And instinctively, it's a good idea because I've never heard of the Hug-a-Bunch movie, but you're super excited about it. And whenever something happens like that, like Szechuan sauce or the Zelda-themed Nintendo 3DS, like it's usually really, really funny. But maybe we just didn't hug enough bunches in this.
Well, what made it hard was that it was like, okay, this is a Beth and Rick episode, and there's all these landmines that we can't really hit with too much detail or too much info. Like, we don't want to get into Beth's mom, and like we don't want to get into. There's just so much that could come up, between these two in this episode that we managed to sort of hopefully gracefully step around.
This ended up right here. This leads into the question of what, like the episode ends on a cliffhanger. Basically, you're not supposed to know what's going on, and this speech is what leads you into it.
Well, I think that probably Dan would agree. My personal favorite thing about this episode is the discovery that Beth is a fucking, in other realities, she's like
a dark.
She's like a fucking serial killer.
I also valued this episode because it was a nice chance to reset, because that question we never answered is how aware is Beth of the whole infinite timeline thing?
Yeah.
And so in this conversation, we actually redefine the relationship. That Beth understands that the whole I'm one of infinite Beth's shtick.
Yeah.
I like just resetting that and going like, yes, that what she gets it. There's no secrets. It's funny because John Mayer was just in here doing the commentary for 301, and he specifically said his favorite thing about the show was that it doesn't fuck around with like, oh, Mr. Furley knows this, and the bosom buddies landlord knows that, and it's like wasted time on who knows what. Like you want everyone on the same page, and so I like this episode because Beth stops being defined by whether she thinks her dad's great or wants him to leave or thinks that one day he'll love her. She becomes Rick's daughter.
Yeah.
And nothing more.
So, a quick connection about this box of stuff. Justin, you told me and James Siciliano, the writer's assistant last season, to just come up with some stuff. And we gave you a list. Yeah. We were like, let's use all of it.
Well, all I said was, I'm going to record every single one of these, with the exception of maybe one or two.
And it ended up all staying in. I kind of like how long it runs.
Are you kidding me? And then kind of like
it's funny that
it's probably the best part of the entire episode.
James and I did it again in the President fight episode. He and I sat down and wrote a bunch of bits in the President fight and sat with who directed that fight at the end? It was Anthony Chun, right?
Yeah, Chun.
And then we went through it with him, and all of that stuff stayed in, too. So it was like the two lists we did that were like, at the end of the season, like we were kind of up against it, and I like that all that stuff stayed in.
Yeah, with the Beth box of children's toys, it was that scene, it's one of those scenes where it's like, it starts to not be funny, and then it goes on so long that it just suddenly becomes fucking twice as funny.
And the little line the knife says, I think, was a last second thing too. It was really funny.
Yeah.
Oh man, Summer's so good here.
I remember this scene being difficult because I don't know. It's just random. It's weird, the scenes that you have in your head, like you totally visualize. And I pitched this whole thing from the beginning up to, and especially including the exit of the two kids getting out.
Yeah.
And closing the door as they're like, the timing when it's done wrong.
Next item on the dock.
I don't know why. I just had this whole scene in my head, and I knew it was raining and all this shit. And it's like sometimes it didn't work with the rest of the episode. But it's like I knew how that scene worked.
Do you think you got it where you wanted it, or do you think it's still?
It ended up at the 90% that you can get when you're that insistent.
No, you don't understand. Your dad. People.
And not the 130% that you get when you're acquiescent. When you go, I don't know what the scene should be, and then people amaze.
I do remember we built that scene. That scene was a hugely important scene for that side of the story.
Yeah,
and when that happens, it often ends up later when you watch the episode again. You're like, oh right, we built the whole thing around that.
I respect your.
And sometimes you're right, and sometimes it's like I wish we had just hit that harder.
I think it worked well. I think it's.
It was a divorced parents thing. I mean, the interesting thing is that the first two seasons we had this thing where I wanted their divorce to be you killed Kenny, like they were always on the verge of divorcing, and then I was like, nobody's getting any pleasure out of that. Most people have divorced parents, and then so season 3 we're like, let's do the divorce. And the amazing thing that was unlocked is every writer has 1,000 divorced parent stories, and they're all so interesting because they all revolve around the theme of that day you find out your parents are human. And it's very similar to like the Clinton Lewinsky transcript of like just like you don't want to hear your parents talk about dating.
Man, I wish we could have saw Beth kill more of those fruities.
We just were up against the wire.
I know.
Yeah,
I just so badly wanted like even 5 more seconds and just faster, just like.
Hey, I wish they could be running through the hallway right here because they're being chased, but you can't get everything you want.
Okay. So by the way, again, down to the fucking wire. No time to reanimate. They should be running.
Okay, you're left.
And they're not. And so instead of animating them running, we just added. We wrote a joke. Harmon wrote a joke. Was it you and me, or was it just?
Yeah,
I remember being in the edit bay, and you're like, whatever. You just heard it. It's like, why aren't we running? It's like literally just like.
I'm just not very imaginative.
I love this comeuppance. I feel bad that they're about to lose this car. Do they get to keep this car? Does he buy another one?
I think it's
canonically. I don't think we see this car in 10. I think it's.
Oh man, what does he get? Like a Subaru Forester or something?
Yeah,
oh wait, never mind. Adult Swim.
Yeah. Why don't we wait until there's some car company that wants to give us $1 trillion to.
Will you two explain the what he was just playing and what music we're about to hear? How that came about? Do you remember all that?
Yeah, it was. It was. We were gonna license a song, and then in order to get that Joe Walsh song, we had to write some originals, which we did, and I'm actually really happy we did. And then this was just.
That was originally Dan just screwing around, and then you did it, another version of it, right?
Wait,
No, this is me.
But is
This is me like
singing?
3 days before we aired.
Yeah.
Every daughter is a doo-doo from a father's.
Oh yeah, okay. So this is a collaboration between, I think, Elder, Aussie, Chloe, and then you singing lead.
I remember I had to go in with a click track and I sang the lyrics, and I remember it almost cost me my girlfriend because it was like you can't. I was like, I can't remember what the circumstances were, but it was like I had to go in and like record like 20,000 takes of this song.
Why?
But I had to write. I wrote the song. There was me and one engineer at Starburns, and I was like writing lyrics, and I was like, God damn it! I don't know. Every girl, it's like it's got to be about doo-doos and butts and daughters and fathers, and like I wrote the song and recorded it and then sent it in. But
I mean, here's the sad thing, and I don't know, like,
and then you do Terry folds, and it's like fucking number one.
well, no, I mean,
that's the eternal thing.
But the difference is, like, I went like Aussie wrote a bed, and then I just said, okay, put it on, and I put the headphones on, and I just fucking made shit up, and then I was like, oh, I should do one more take.
But
and then I
that
was like,
sequence,
fuck it.
that song you did that almost cost you your relationship, to me, that didn't exist like a week before this aired, and then when it's on it, I fucking love that sequence.
Yeah, I mean,
now.
listen, for what it's worth, it's fucking great, but I'd like to believe you could have gone in there and one-taked it.
Maybe could have, maybe. And every once in a while, I try to break through to what you do, like what maybe the flu rap. Like that's
yeah.
That's the difference. Like, where that's if you're watching me, then I can be like you. I could go got it. Flu. I got a flu. But like if I'm by myself, I'm like I need this to have the right pentameter.
Yeah. Okay.
Iambic.
It makes you mad.
And I remember iambic is probably the right one.
you wanted me to do it as Rick. I remember, and I was like, remember that? You were like, I think Rick should be singing the song. Why was I pushing back on that? I feel like it was because
we have too much respect for each other.
Yeah.
No.
Yep.
It's not. No. It was. Well, I mean, yes, but that isn't why in that particular case. I think it was because. There was something about it that felt weird.
You just diegetically didn't want Rick to have recorded a song that was in the background, right?
Yeah, there was something weird about.
Come on, you were having fun that weekend.
No, I swear. I could have.
It's not a shameful
Wait,
answer.
no,
I didn't
no.
want to do it either.
Hold on. To talk about a Ridleyism, these guys are such. I think that was Ridley who wrote that.
I would have done it as not Rick. Like I would have been happy to do it as just like like some weird like Terry Fold style. But it would have just been another. I don't know.
I told you my kids were.
I think no. The only reason I
needed
have
to
you
be-
do it would be that it was technically Rick, and the idea would be that it was like that was the song that he had been working on. That's it.
Okay, yeah.
So
And then it's
you
like
would have just
flowing
been
into-
doing work. It wouldn't have been like you. You just been a vocalist on a thing.
Yeah,
but it was
yeah.
like.
I mean, maybe it could have worked if I was given the just the ability to just fuck around as Rick singing. But like, boy, oh boy, they really made a wait. When you did it on a click track. There was no music. You're saying
This is Jennifer Hale, right?
No, there was Ryan
had a bed.
Did
Okay.
the, melody.
Oh, that's hard, man. Yeah. Okay.
And so then I wrote lyrics to the melody.
Yeah, that's hard. I would have for sure not.
Dad, can we go now?
It just would have been like.
I'm starting to get the feeling. I was the rebound.
All right. Well, people want to know.
Singing a song.
We made these people blue because blue's a better color. I don't know what the fuck you want from a commentary track. I don't know what to tell you.
These people are blue.
We're bad people. There's no reason for you to be.
Oh, hey,
watching this.
wait. No, but important.
What's for dinner?
Is Beth a clone?
Yeah, that's the most important thing when you leave this episode.
Oh, baby boy. Oh, baby boy.
Are we going to tell him on this commentary track if she's a clone or not?
We don't know yet, bro.
We're not telling.
We can't tell what we don't know, bro. Oh, I like this Rick line. He's like, by the way, I didn't steal it.
By the way, that was time travel.
Or by the way, I didn't
time travel. Yeah. Nice cover.
Yeah, well, I remember that fucked me up because I was like, the one time we really fucked with time was in the pilot.
Yep.
Because he goes like, oh, I'm back, and I just
40
spent
years.
50 years.
Yeah.
And we never did that again.
Yeah, but don't let it eat you alive because, in my opinion, he went to a place where time is different,
Moves slower.
differently.
Yeah.
It's almost like
futuristic dimension. Yeah.
You've seen that episode of Black Mirror where the guy. Well, every Black Mirror episode.
Spoilers.
Here's another reason to not let it eat you alive.
Oh, wait.
Turner won't pay for a fourth season.
Oh, yeah,
Wait. So this, because we moved the kids earlier, Mandel let us, the line producer, Mike Mandel, let us do this. If we could write a tag where almost nothing moved.
Yeah. How close to a photo can animation get?
Hey, at least those things are moving.
That's probably a real bathroom in the background.
Yeah, we wrote this in the edit bay. I like it.
Me too.
Oh yeah, I like it too. It's just a nice little fucking Charlie Brown Jerry moment.
Antique phone rentals. It reminds me of the end of Anatomy Park a little bit too.